I am continuing my read, and what I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a little bit as I move along. We have just read about the construction of the temple and all the ornaments and all the details of that in 1 Kings, chapter 5, 6, and 7, and in 2 Chronicles, chapters 2, 3, and 4. We are now back in 1 Kings, chapter 8. This is the dedication, the dedicatory ceremony for the temple. This is an extremely long chapter. It's about 4 pages long. So, because the events of this chapter are the same as chapters 5, 6, and 7 in 2 Chronicles, I'm going to be reading chapter 8 in 3 parts. I will read one part, then read the equivalent narrative of chapter 5 in 2 Chronicles. I will then come back to chapter 8 and then 2 Chronicles chapter 6, and then finish chapter 8 in 1 Kings, and then 2 Chronicles chapter 7. So that is how I am proceeding with these videos. The first and third part of chapter 8 will be brief, while the middle, is the actual dedicatory prayer, which will take a little extra time. So here we have chapter 8. The ark containing the 2 tablets of stone is placed in the Holy of Holies. The glory of the Lord fills the temple. Solomon offers dedicatory prayer. He asks for temporal and spiritual blessings upon repentant and prayerful Israel. The people sacrifice and worship for 14 days. Then Solomon assembled the elders of Israel and all the heads of the tribes, the chief of the fathers of the children of Israel, unto King Solomon in Jerusalem, that they might bring up the ark of the covenant of the Lord out of the city of David, which is Zion. And all the men of Israel assembled themselves unto King Solomon at the feast in the month of Ethanim, which is the 7th month. And all the elders of Israel came, and the priests took up the ark, and they brought up the ark of the Lord, and the tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, even those did the priests and the Levites bring up. And King Solomon and all the congregation of Israel that were assembled unto him were with him before the ark, sacrificing sheep and oxen that could not be told nor numbered for multitude. And the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of the Lord unto his place into the oracle of the house, to the most holy place, even under the wings of the cherubims. For the cherubims spread forth their 2 wings over the place of the ark, and the cherubims covered the ark, and the staves thereof above. And they drew out the staves at the ends of and they drew out the staves, that the ends of the staves were seen out in the holy place before the oracle. And they were not seen without, and there they are unto this day. There was nothing in the ark, save the 2 tables of stone which Moses put there at Horeb, when the Lord made a covenant with the children of Israel, when they came out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass, when the priests were come out of the holy place, that the cloud filled the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand in the midst because of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of the Lord. Now that's all I'm going to read for this video. Couple of things here. Remember that the ark had been placed in its own tent inside the city of Jerusalem, but the tabernacle, with all the rest of the stuff, had stayed in Gibeon. Now we have the temple built. The ark is brought up, but so are all the other holy objects, all the other holy furnishings of the tabernacle. They're all brought to the temple. In addition, the people are making sacrifices as they come up to the temple. So these aren't sacrifices just in the temple. Showing once again that you could do, if you had the proper authority, you could perform these ordinances in other places. The temple was not the only place for these ordinances, at least at this time. Now, there was one other thing I wanted to mention, but I cannot remember it now. Oh, yeah. Now, I have to correct myself a little bit on the 2 cherubim. Apparently, they weren't. I thought they were placed between the holy and the Holy of Holies, but they're not. Remember, the ark was built with two cherubims on top of the mercy seat. So Solomon built these two big cherubims. They are in the Holy of Holies, so that when they put the ark in, it is set between the two cherubim. And so when the cherubim are looking inward, it means they have their wings spread out and they're turned towards each other so that they're, in a sense, looking and guarding over the ark. That's an interesting point. Finally, they are removing the staves. Recall that when they built the tabernacle and they built the ark way back in the days of Moses, 480 years ago, they put the staves in it because nobody is allowed to touch the ark. There's once a year, the high priest is supposed to go in and do a special ordinance where he anoints the corners of the ark with blood. But other than that, you don't touch it. So they had these staves so you could carry it around. But now they take the staves out and they put the staves in the holy place rather than the Holy of Holies. And this is to symbolize that the ark now has a permanent place of rest. It is not going to be moved again. They don't need the staves. Nobody's going to touch it, but nobody needs to move it anymore. And so we don't need the staves to be put in it. I will also say, this is an interesting point, that it says the staves are still in the temple at the time of the writing. Now, if you'll recall in my supplement I did on when and why the books of Kings were written, I mentioned that they were likely begun at least during the reign of Hezekiah. And it seems likely that with this kind of a reference that they would be, because once the temple was destroyed by Babylon, how could the staves still be there? So at least at this time, that this early portion of Kings is obviously written sometime before Babylon destroys the temple. So I like that's an interesting little historical note. But the most important part on this is that they took the staves out. This was to be the final place for the ark. It was never supposed to be moved again. And of course, the ark is now lost to history. Nobody knows what happened to it. I am personally of the opinion that God took it, but we'll talk about that later when we get to the captivity. Right now, we'll just leave that here and we'll pick this up in 2 Chronicles chapter 5. See you there.